Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us for a virtual field trip to an Ohio pig farm. We're excited to have some FFA classes from around Ohio, and I'm Jennifer Osterholt. I'm on staff with the Ohio Pork Council, and we have our featured guest, Neil Ronimus, who is a farmer in Southern Ohio. So before we give the camera over to Neil, I'd like to thank our sponsors, which are the Ohio Pork Council and Farm Credit Mid-America, for making this program and today's broadcast a possibility. We've got Mr. Jones and his class from Harrison Central in Cadiz, Ohio. We've got Mrs. Black and her class from Wauseon High School up north. And on the line, we also have Dan Toland, who is helping us with technology support. So our featured guest, without further ado, is Neil Ronimus. Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. My name's Neil. I'm also known as Uncle Squeal to my friends and family. So we're down here located in Clinton and Highland County, the town of Lynchburg. I have two weaned to finished barns where we get baby pigs about 21 days old and keep them until they're ready to go to other farms across the country. And we specialize in raising female replacements, also called gilts, and we ship those out to farms as they need them. And between the two operations, we sell about 15,000 to 20,000 pigs a year. And we contract to Heimrel family farms, which is another family that produces the pork. Down here at the family farm, I've lived since I was born here, actually. And the barn we're in here today is located in Highland County near Lynchburg. In this barn, it contains about 2,500 pigs, and we get them, once again, about 3 weeks old. And the pigs you'll see today were born about the middle of August, which is week 35 or week 34. And really glad to have you joining us today. And looks like we have a good signal, so bear with me, and we'll give you a tour here. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Here we go. The pigs you're looking at now are week 35. That's how we identify the age of the pigs. The week of the year in which they're born, every pig has a tattoo in its ear indicating that. When we get them in, they're 3 weeks old. We sort them out to 35 in a pen in this particular barn. There's 9 stages of feed that we feed during the pig's life. And each stage depends on their age. And of course, how much per age. I'm getting a little fast there, sorry. These pigs over here are week 32. And I'm climbing over the gate. Give you a little look at what they're eating. And if you hear me yell, they may be nipping at my leg. I'm kind of playful this morning, but hope you can see the feed trough. The feed comes into the building through a tube and an auger. It runs through the length of the building. And the water comes in at about 15 pounds pressure. Comes into a drinker. Hopefully I don't drop this in the pit. Pressure in the water comes out. The pigs drink as they need to. They're about as close as you can get to a pig right here, right now. By the way, this is not an apple, so they probably wouldn't like it. Well, little non-humor there, I suppose. If you notice in a barn like this, we have ventilation. Which ventilates the building through the pit, and the air is pulled down from the ceiling. I'll slow down a little bit. As you might see, the lighting's not very good, but air comes through the ceiling. It's pulled through the barn. Sorry, but I gotta get out of the pen. They're liking my knees too well. And this barn is controlled. We set a temperature and we reduce it a certain amount by each week of their age until we achieve the proper temperature, which is about 65 degrees at the final temperature. Everything's controlled through a controller in the office and operates off of the set temperature, whether it turns on more fans, turns on heaters, or turns on misters to keep the animals cool in the summer. This little guy's coming up here to talk to me. I've raised pigs for most of my life. I've raised pigs outdoors in the mud, and I've had baby pigs outside in the mud. That's kind of not a good thing, but I've been involved in various aspects of pork production most of my life. I care for the pigs on a daily basis all by myself. I do have 2 part-time helpers that are very helpful to me in daily chores, also in loading pigs when I need help, and also when we receive pigs. We spread the manure on the fields. We inject it into the soil in a manner that will feed the crop. And we do so, we're using a CNMP, which is a comprehensive nutrient management plan, which I've had for about 15 years. A lot of changes has gone over in my lifetime in pork production. We take care of more animals today per person than I could have taken care of with 3 or 4 people.
Can you elaborate on that, Neil?
I'm sorry, go ahead. Repeat that, Jennifer.
I said, can you elaborate on that, please? How you can take care of more animals now with 1 person than you could have in the past with more people?
Yes, Jennifer. Well, when we used to have pigs in barns with concrete floors and outside, we had to haul manure by hand, cart it by hand sometimes using skid loaders, and we're very dependent on the weather. We needed to clean manure out. We had to have good solid ground. As you know, 1 person can only do so much work in a day: grinding feed, sorting pigs, taking care of baby pigs, all the other work is done, and also the daily work. I can walk through this barn in about 3 hours if I have it full of babies, checking every pig, making sure that everything's going well and they're healthy. They need to be taken care of. Anything else, Jennifer?
That's good. Thank you. Keep going. We had some questions submitted ahead of time, and you're doing a great job addressing several of those. And then we are also just hoping to talk about nutrition, selection, and management. So you've talked about what pigs eat. Maybe you want to talk about why that matters and how that affects them.
Well, Jennifer, the reason it matters of what they eat is we feed the male pigs and the female pigs differently. I have only female pigs. During the course of their lifetime that they are with me, the rations are adjusted accordingly to the leanness of a gilt and also addressing the reproductive needs to help the reproductive system grow according to the best that they can in development. Also, barrows, or the male pigs, they need to have a higher protein level so they don't lay in more fat. Also in our buildings, we have PIC, which is Pig Improvement Company. It's one of the world's largest breeding firms. Our owners contracted with them to raise gilts and replacements. So we have maternal line females. So they grow a little bit slower than your crossbred colored pigs might, or other outcrosses from other breeds that you might be familiar with. So our average daily gain is usually about 2.5. Our feed efficiency runs about 1.85. That's just a good modern figure that comes out of here. You might have to remind me of some of the other questions there, Jennifer.
You're doing great. So let's talk about management and then selection a little bit more, and how you're involved in. And I know you've shared, but if you don't mind, just kind of recapping how you're involved in the genetic process and selecting animals that will be chosen to be mothers.
Okay. The breeding's taking part somewhere else, and these gilts are brought here to us, and what we need to do is make sure that they are always well cared for, plenty of fresh water, food, good environment. We manage the building and such to make sure that the air is good. And the gilts that come to us are brought in, and we sort them out to size. A selection officer would come in that works for the family farm. They pick out the ones that deem quality to be used. We tag them, sort them, and then prior to shipment, the selection officer comes in, marks the load, and we have a paperwork that includes the health papers, which can go for their destinations. And we make sure that we have the right pigs on the right place at the right time, and make sure that they get a satisfied customer. And we're selecting these females. We're some of the most sought after gilts in the country, actually. So we're very successful at creating a good quality product, which will then go on to those farms to produce the best pork that we can.
I know, Neil, you've shared you have very healthy animals, and there's something that's kind of unique you do every time you come into the barn to help keep those animals healthy. Can you help tell us about that, please?
Yes, Jennifer. Besides the protocol where we go throughout our daytime around other animals, we stay away from other pig farms where other pig producers might be. But before we enter the buildings, we take a shower, and in our buildings we have our own laundry, and we have separate clothes that we wear inside the building. And during the course of a day, I might take 8 showers, so I'm pretty squeaky clean.
Good. That's good to hear. Good to hear. All right. One of the other key points is that FFA classes work to learn is management. So what sorts of things, when you come through the barn and you're doing chores, you've kind of shared you're keeping the environment good, fresh air, keeping feed and water. Is there anything else that you're looking for regularly?
Well, the barn is monitored for changes in water pressure, temperature, power systems, noise levels. When we get out of the truck to come into the building, the first thing you do is listen to see if there's any commotion going on, if anything's, you can hear if a fan's not running somewhere, because maintenance is a key part of taking care of the pigs and making sure that everything functions. A hog barn like this is just a giant piece of equipment, actually. So then I come in, we take our shower, we check the temperature log. We record the temperature each day. We also record the water that's been used. By recording the water that's been used that day for those pigs, it allows us to monitor their health. We know if there's a drop in water usage, that those animals may be becoming ill, or if there's an increase, they also may be. However, that doesn't happen very often, but that's a key management tool we use. And then each day we walk every pen throughout the building, make sure that the feed augers are running properly, and that we have enough time set on the feed clock, because it's an automatic procedure, but we have to monitor all things automatic, of course, if something's wrong. You use your ears, your eyes, your nose. And you might say, oh, that hog barn smells bad anyway, but you can tell after you've been around it if there's a problem, and then you can address it that way.
All right, thank you. And then we've got some questions just about show pigs. So what type of farm are you? Do you have commercial pigs, or do you sell some show stock as well? And I think show pigs would be referring to pigs that would be exhibited at county fairs through 4-H and FFA projects.
Well, yes, I'm familiar with show pigs. I used to do that myself. Actually, I've shown Berkshire pigs at the state fair, and I won grand champion female one year. But today, no, our pigs are not show quality pigs. They're a different type of pigs than what you would expect. I forget the other part of that question. Sorry, Jennifer.
You're fine. Just what type of farm are you, and why? Maybe you just highlight some of the differences in what you're trying to do, and what someone that raises pigs to be shown at the fair might try to do.
Right. These in the quest to have quality, consistent pork, we want every pig to look the same. So, in larger numbers, you do that by achieving the same females. In our line are a PIC 1050s. We are a production nucleus herd, which means we grow out the pigs that will go back. Some of them will go back to our sow unit to become our new foundation. In fact, some of these pigs are near me. I guess I'm wrong. But they would be comparable to a purebred line, a Yorkshire large white type cross, although they have erect ears for some of you that are familiar. They mostly Yorkshire, and of course these will go back to produce the main maternal lines.
All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
And how much land does your farm take up?
This particular farm sits on 5 acres. The barn takes up 1. However, we sit on a farm owned by somebody else where we send the manure to of about 1,000 acres. This barn needs about 600 acres available to rotate the manure around to be agronomically sound and to provide good nutrients to the crops and not over applying them. As you might be aware, we're aware of phosphorus and things of that nature. We don't want to overload the soil. And we test the soil. We test our soil yearly where these manures are going. The manure is tested once a year as we pump it out. So we have a known sample of how to apply it agronomically correct.
All right, and what are the nutrients in manure that the corn and soybeans need to grow?
Well, you get a lot of those, and I'm not an agronomist, but we get phosphorus. Nitrogen is the main thing, your nitrogen for the corn crop. And you get a lot of zinc, you get a lot of boron. By this I mean not a lot, but you get a good amount. Also, we've found that we no longer need to apply lime as we used to because we are picking up some of that. So for you agronomy kids in there that are leaning that way, that might be helpful. Brookside Labs, which is in the area of some of you, it's a pretty good source there for information.
Another good question is, why did you get started in the business? So you've talked about raising pigs your whole life, but why did you build the barns that you have?
Well, they said that when I was born, my dad threw me in the pen with the pigs, but I don't know if that's true or not. My mom might say it was, but back in 1998, we had a very bad hog years. Some of your parents probably lived through that. We had to either decide to get out and keep working somewhere or do something. So we decided to build a barn in 2001. And in 2010, we built the barn we're in today. So it's what I do. I have about 60 crop acres, and I take care of pigs, and that's all I do.
And you take time to give us a tour of your barn and to answer questions on social media. We really appreciate all of that, Neil.
Well, thank you. That's kind of something that I would have never thought I'd be doing, and I do spend a lot of my time each day on that. And you might want to look up Uncle Squeal's Pig Farm or follow me on Twitter at Ron Farm.
Great.
So I have a question after we get ready for the kids.
Okay. One last question we have here is, what kind of technology do you use?
Well, most of the time I'm learning something new. Technology, we use, of course, the internet here. I'm using the Galaxy iPad and a headset. I have all the good Galaxy tools, and of course, we use the internet to keep up on shipping. We order our feed through the internet sometimes. We also process our orders and our health papers, and I just don't know if I can take any more technology. So
you're doing a great job using the technology you have today to show us around. All right. What questions do you have for the group, Neil?
Well, I want to know if Mr. Chris Thomas is there in Wasion. I guess he's not. So anyway, I'll be glad to answer any questions out there for you. So.
All right. Do we have a question from Harrison Central?
What do your pigs weigh right now, Neil?
Good one.
I'm sorry I didn't catch that, Jennifer.
What do your pigs weigh right now?
Well, it's a scientific guess that these pigs here are about 45 pounds that you're seeing here. They're week 35 born. They're very curious at this age, of course. You see one climbing up here. But this barn contains pigs from 35 pounds up to about 125 today.
So you get the pigs at what age, and how much do they weigh?
They're approximately 21 days old and about 15 pounds.
Okay. And you raise them until what weight?
Well, at least 260. However, sometimes, which is the case right now, we have orders for pigs that are ranging from the 35 pounds up to 180. And our gilts are in high demand now because they are very healthy gilts, females.
All right. Good question. Is there another one from Harrison Central?
Yeah. Go ahead.
On some of your farms, you have different groups of type of pigs. Like, what kind of gilts do you have? Chester White or whatever?
They want to know the breed, what breeds he has in the barn. What breeds of pigs? What breeds of gilts? Are they Chester Whites? Are they Yorkshires? Or what breeds?
I'm sorry, was the question what breed the pigs are?
What breed do you have? Yes.
Yes, they're basically a Yorkshire Landrace cross. It's a company breed, so they're pedigreed by the company. And as you can see, the pigs you're looking at right there pretty much showing the Yorkshire characteristics.
And the reason your company has worked to take different breeds of pigs and cross them again until they come up with the best maternal characteristics, since you're raising pigs that will go on to be mothers, am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, that's their goal. And it's intensive breeding program, and I really don't have any involvement in that other than what I've told you today.
All right. Is there a question from Wasion? All right. Is there another question from Harrison?
We have a couple of questions, I guess. One of them is, how many pounds of feed a day do you go through? I don't know if that's a good question or not.
Did you hear, Neil?
I'm sorry, I don't hear their questions very well. Can you repeat
You're
it, Jennifer?
fine. How much feed do you go through a day? Or maybe a week would be easier. Whatever's easiest for you.
Well, of course, that would change by the size of the pigs and the number of the pigs in the barn. Excuse me. Every Monday and every Wednesday, I take an inventory of the bins, how much feed is in the bin. And then the person that I'm calling the inventory in at the feed mill, they know how many I have told them is in each row of pigs. Normally, I will get a truckload of feed every week. When the hogs get larger, towards the sale, we may get 3 truckloads in 10 days, which is about 25 tons per truck. So that can vary, but at our peak, we're using about, the 3 loads in a 10-day period. So that can vary. Does that answer your question there?
Yes.
All right.
Another question they have is, they don't see any ear notching in the pig's ears. How's come?
Good question. So we hope that other students might be able to watch a recorded version, other FFA students around Ohio. So the question, Neil, was the students didn't see ear notching in the pigs. So maybe you can explain what ear notching is and what your pigs have.
Well, yeah, sure. Ear notching is the system where when a baby pig's born, it's placed in the ear, it's divided in half, and they use up to 2 notches in each quadrant of the ear, and it can mean 1, 3, or 9, or 11, and I think 27 or something like that. We do not use ear notches. Each pig is tattooed in the ear when it's born, and I'm sure that I can't give you a good shot, and it's kind of hard to see, but so we know the week that it's born, and identifies the sow unit where the mothers are at, identifies that. For us, our line 1050s, which are the pigs that will come back to the unit to be mothers someday, has a small white tag placed in its ear at birth. And through the pedigree, we know that the production of that sow, where she indexes, with 100 being average for the herd. So when they go in there checking their replacements, they want a sow that the pig has at least, I can't get a picture probably of the ear tag, but there you go. There's an ear tag. And that indicates the information they need to pick out their information they need. And in another operation, that you could use that ear notch, which is a little notch in the ear. You go back into your records and you can keep track of what sow that came from. but in our case we use the ear tag and a tattoo.
Great. So you've shared some different methods to identify pigs, and pig identification is important when the pigs are in groups so that you can find which pig might, just so you can track them, know their history, if one would get sick, so you can help identify it, treat it, help it get better, those sorts of things. Is there another question at Harrison?
I want to know, will any of these pigs be slaughtered, or will all of them be used for breeding purposes?
Neil, the question was, will any of these pigs be slaughtered, or will they all be used for breeding or to be mothers?
Well, typically, if this whole barn was selected for breeding stock replacements, there would be about 20% of them that wouldn't meet the criteria, and those would go to harvest facilities.
So we did a video chat with someone in a mother farm a couple weeks ago, and he shared, you know, one of the reasons. So there's nothing wrong with that animal that would prevent it from being a good source of food. Maybe on the underline, there's just one less teat or something than might be needed when you're looking for animals to be mothers. Do you have any other experiences like that to share, Neil?
Well, that's correct. When the selection officer would come in and select the females, she'd be looking at the underlines and the soundness of that particular pig, that she could go on to a mature weight and support, you know, being a good mother. And there's reasons like that they would not keep it for selection in the herd. And then the remainder would be good for us to have pork, wholesome pork. So
we've had several good questions. We very much appreciate it. Several were submitted ahead of time. You've done a great job addressing, and we appreciate the ones that were submitted live. Again, we thank you to Farm Credit Mid-America, the Ohio Pork Council, and especially to Neil Ronimus, who's been volunteered his time and his equipment and his pigs, everything to share with us more about where our food comes from. So I would like to invite you, if you've got more questions, to visit ohiopork.org. We've got a frequently asked questions page. We have the Facebook page at Ohio Hog Farmers. And Neil, would you like to share again your personal social media?
Oh, yes, it'd be really cool if you'd stop by Uncle Squeal's Pig Farm Facebook page. I also have YouTube videos. You can Google my name or Uncle Squeal. And also on Twitter, I tweet under Ron Farm, RHONFARM, one word. So it'd be great to hear from some of you if you got any more questions. And there's a lot of opportunity out there for young people, so I encourage you to look into it.
Jennifer, we did have some questions come in via email from Wasion. They were having trouble accessing their chat window, so there was an email question come in from them. If you want to address that, I do have it in the chat window.
All right. Neil, one last question was, how many pigs can your barn hold, please?
The barn's designed, we put 2,500 pigs in this barn. Means 2,500 spaces. And that space is determined by the square feet. And I'm sorry, but I can't tell you that right now off the top of my head, but that's what we would normally put in this facility.
No problem. We thank you. Thank you all very much for taking your time. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. We do have time if there's any more questions.
We have about 2 or 3 minutes left. Any questions? Good. Do you fill the barn up all at one time, or do you fill it up a little bit at a time?
I got you. We get pigs 2 days a week on Wednesdays and Fridays. We typically get 300 at a time. and it takes us between 4 and 5 weeks to fill our building.
Okay.
Does the feed on the feeding thing, does your auger senses, or do you check if, or does it automatically feed the feed in the feeder?
You want to know if the augers automatically kicked on to fill the feeders, or if you had to do it manually?
I got you. It's automatic. We have a preset amount of runtime in this facility. We set it by the hour to run so many minutes. There's an automatic shut-off valve at the very last feeder. And the neat thing about that is it's working while I'm not here, but I have to maintain that system so it operates properly and monitor it and make sure that it's running the amount of times needed to keep the feed flowing.
Thanks for taking your time out of your day to spend with this group of kids, Neil. We appreciate it.
Hey, I'm very happy to do it, and I'm glad you could join me today.
Dan, Jennifer, thanks for your help as well. It's been a neat experience. This is the first time we've ever done this.
Well, good. I'm going to send you an evaluation, and we would very much appreciate knowing what you think of it.
We will do. Any other questions? They're good, I think.
All right. Thank you all. We hope you have a great day.
Do the same. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.